Hey everyone, I want to start with a pretty big question. How can we actually see God? Like, is it possible to know that He's real without having some sort of magical vision or a burning bush moment? I think most of us, whether we've grown up in the church or not, we've had the moment where we wonder, is God really there? And if He is, why doesn't He just show Himself? I remember having times like this where I really wanted to know for sure as well. Because if God's real, there should be some way to know, some evidence, some kind of sign, right? Well, this isn't a new question. People have been asking it for as long as humans have existed. Some of you might be asking the question right now. How do I believe in a God that I can't see or hear? What does it even mean to have a relationship with God if I can't talk to Him like I do with my friends? And if He's supposed to care so much about us, why doesn't He show up with more clarity? Even if you do believe in God, you might still feel distant or disconnected sometimes. And that's normal because connecting with someone you can't see, that's tough. Throughout history, people have tried all sorts of ways to reach out to God through prayers, arts, rituals, music, temples. It's like we've all been reaching for something invisible, hoping to just catch a glimpse of it. Well, 2,000 years ago, someone showed up and they changed everything. That someone is Jesus. He was a real person who lived in the ancient Middle East, and his life completely changed how people experienced and understood God. A guy named Paul, a leader in the early church, said something powerful about Jesus. He said, Christ is the visible image of the invisible God. Basically, Paul was saying, if you want to know what God is like, look at Jesus. Maybe you're thinking, okay, but Paul's just a guy who wrote a bunch of letters. Why should I believe him? It's a good question. That's why it's important that you need to know that Jesus said it too. In the Gospel of John, one of Jesus' closest friends wrote about a conversation between Jesus and a guy named Philip. Philip said, Lord, show us the Father. And Jesus replied, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. Jesus wasn't just pointing to God. He was saying, if you've seen me, you have seen God. But here's the thing. Jesus isn't physically here on earth anymore. So the question is, how do we see God now in our real lives right here today? Well, Jesus actually talked about this before He left. He said, it is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go, the advocate will not come to you. But if I go, the advocate will be here for you. The advocate is what we now call the Holy Spirit. God's Spirit is real, active, fluid, and moving in the world in and around us. Paul later said, since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. In other words, God didn't leave. He sent His Spirit so that we could still know Him and see Him and follow Him even now. So how do we see this Holy Spirit? Like, what are we supposed to be looking for? Well, Paul gives us a really helpful list called the fruit of the Spirit. It's basically evidence that God's Spirit is at work in someone's life or in the world around you. And it says this, the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those things like love, joy, patience, kindness, those are signs that God is working. When you see someone go out of their way to be kind, when you feel peace in the middle of a stressful situation, when you notice yourself showing patience in a moment that you usually wouldn't, that's evidence of the Spirit at work. That's how we start to see God. So here's the challenge. This week, try to pay attention. Look around and ask, where do I see God at work? Where do I see His Spirit showing up in me, in others, or in the world around me? The more you'll look for it, the more you'll start to notice. So this next week, we're going to be spending time digging deeper into the idea of how we can see God through the work of the Holy Spirit. And here's the truth. I want you to walk away today, right now. I want you to leave with this. You can see God. Not always with your eyes, but with the way that He moves in the people around you and in the change that happens in your own life. So keep your eyes peeled. Look for the fruit. Look for the Holy Spirit being active and present in the world around you and in your life. Take care and have a beautiful week, everyone.